Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I'd like to touch upon something that everyone in the UK should be very worried about, which is closer alignment with the way that Hungary are doing things. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, just to bring people up to speed, if you're not quite sure what's been happening in Hungary, all the democratic institutions are essentially being dismantled in the name of stopping a crisis that has not actually affected Hungary that much. Orban is now in complete control. Parliament are no longer sitting. They're not going to have any input in anything. There's not going to be elections. Orban is ruling by decree. People can be jailed for spreading misinformation. There are no time limits on these emergency measures. They are basically in perpetuity. And as for that bit about spreading misinformation, now, of course, there's going to be a lot of people saying, well, particularly at a time like this, obviously we don't want people spreading misinformation. In fact, there was a Conservative MP, I believe, who has recently said that people should be jailed for deliberately spreading misinformation about this crisis. And on the face of it, people would agree with that. The problem is, who decides what is misinformation? In this particular case, it would be decided politically. You can now be jailed for up to 5 years in Hungary for essentially doing anything to oppose the government. They will just say that you are frustrating their efforts to deal with the pandemic, and into the clink you go. You can also declare that people need to be quarantined, or you need to be in quarantine. And if you fail to comply with that, you can be jailed for up to 8 years for that. And bear in mind that Orban has been seating a tighter grip on power for some time, and has seen this pandemic as a great excuse, as it was always going to be. Now on to Boris Johnson. Now, he is also known to have wanted to exercise much greater power than he is normally given by his office. He absolutely raged many times last year when Parliament had the temerity to stop him doing exactly as he pleased. He set out a manifesto into exactly how he was going to dismantle the power of the judiciary and Parliament to hold him to account at the end of 2019. Something voters would have done well to read and digest before casting their vote. But they didn't. Now he has all he wants. The emergency legislation passed let him pretty much do what he likes, again, all in the name of the current pandemic. It's a little bit different in the UK at the moment because the public are still having a bit of a rage about all the stupid things he's doing. The media, even sections of the Tory media, are not exactly backing him up either. So we have a few little safeguards in place at the moment. But it's come to light that a senior aide to Boris Johnson has been speaking. He was speaking in Budapest a few months ago about how well Hungary has reshaped its political landscape and how the UK should look towards forming closer ties with this regime that has basically led an assault on liberalism. Now, this aide, this potential whisper in Boris Johnson's ears, has been praising the illiberalism of it's a horrible word, that isn't it? Illiberalism of Hungary. The removal of basically liberal politics from Hungary, and wants the same for the UK. Now, this is a senior aide to Boris Johnson saying this, not on behalf of Boris Johnson. This isn't Boris Johnson himself saying it, but he is potentially still being advised by this guy. It's not really known as far as I can tell, but given Boris Johnson's attempt at power grabs when he became Prime Minister, and then when you consider that he has recently rammed through emergency legislation for an emergency he's not genuinely trying to combat, you have to wonder what his thinking is. A lot of people will say, well, of course we needed emergency legislation. Yes, we did. It has to be borne in mind that we do have emergency legislation already. We had that before this emergency because, do you know what? At some point in the past, Parliament thought there might be an emergency one day. Should we have some legislation for it? Yeah, let's do that. The new measures in what has just been passed haven't actually been used yet. Everything that's been done so far could have been done under the old legislation anyway. And then, as I say, when you consider the fact, well, is this a Prime Minister putting in emergency legislation because he really wants to get on top of this virus? In which case, why isn't he doing everything he can to do that? Why are we not mass testing? Why are we not giving NHS staff the protective equipment they need? Why are we not getting in the ventilators? All of these sorts of things, it's like on the one hand, you're looking at a government that are not doing their best to get cracking down this virus. And on the other hand, they, enact hundreds of pages of legislation, emergency legislation. And a government that is known, that they published in the manifesto that, they wanted to remove the checks on their own power. It's worrying. It is worrying. And it'll come as no surprise that, this idea of looking towards Hungary for our political future is being heavily backed by the white supremacists we have in the UK, including the Leave.eu group as well. So I'll leave that unpleasant thought with you there. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.